Mr. President.
Senator from Oklahoma is recognized.
Mr. President, I wanted to just give a quick update on the project I was working on last week to my fellow senators. I spent last week during Memorial Day week in the Middle East. Angus King and I actually traveled to Baghdad, Erbil, Beirut, Amman, and then Angus left out for Turkey and I left out for Jerusalem. It's exceptionally helpful to be able to walk through the different countries in the region right now. Obviously, there's a tremendous amount of instability around Syria. We had the opportunity to be able to ask leaders in every single one of those countries about the future of Syria, the options that are there, what could happen. It is to America's best interest to be able to have a stable Middle East and a functioning relationship in all of those countries. Just a quick walkthrough of a couple of things that I think are important there. In Baghdad, they're actively working to be able to reach out to American companies. There's a real interest there and quite frankly, a growth in Baghdad's economy and Iraq's economy. They're trying to be able to stabilize, though they are still very close to Iran and to Tehran. As chilling as it is, when I went in to meet with the Prime Minister, you can't go to the Prime Minister's office without going through the large traffic circle right outside of his office where he has a giant depiction of the martyr Soleimani in front of his office. That is the Iranian head of the IRGC that actively worked to kill as many Americans as possible. It was a reminder there are still challenges in this region while they're still welcoming to American businesses. In Erbil, in the Kurdish regional government, they truly love America. And it's a true Western feel when you get to Erbil. They're open for commerce, they're open for capitalism, they're still a part of Iraq, but they're very interested in turning their attention towards the Western world and towards engaging in a great deal of American business. In fact, one of the most prideful moments of the conversation were the American businesses that are coming through and engaging in the Kurdish regional government in that area. And to be able to see, I counted 15 cranes across Erbil with the construction that's happening there. It's remarkable to be able to see the investment that's coming into that area. It's good for us to continue to be able to maintain relationships with that region, and they are grateful to be able to be partnered with the United States. But even they are saying to their Kurdish friends that are over on the eastern side of Syria that they should turn their attention towards Damascus in forming a unified Syrian government. In the broad diversity that is Syria, with Kurds, with Turks, with Alawites, with Sunnis, with Shias, with Christians that are all in Syria in multiple different areas, and then in the broad swath of the desert area in the south, to still see a stronghold for ISIS that remains in Syria. It was a reminder again of the challenges this new Syrian government has. It was interesting as well to me that every single one of the leaders that I met in the area all raised to me their gratitude for President Trump canceling the sanctions on Syria. They all said, we don't know exactly which way the Syrian government's going to go. It's too early to be able to tell, but American sanctions would have prevented them from ever being successful in the future. So they expressed their gratitude over and over again to the United States for giving Syria a shot to be able to form its own country and its own nation. When we landed in Beirut, we landed on a Sunday. It was the Sunday before Memorial Day Monday. And it was a sober reminder to wake up in Beirut at the embassy compound and to just walk that half block from where I was staying there over to the memorial that's on the embassy compound for the many, many lives that have been lost over the years in Beirut, including the 241 Marines that died in the Marine barracks in 1983. To be there on that ground on Memorial Day was sobering, to say the least. But I have to tell you, I've been to Lebanon multiple times. I've met with the Lebanese leaders multiple times and with the Lebanese armed forces. I have never left Lebanon more optimistic than I left Lebanon when I took off. New leadership there, the President Aoun, new prime minister there, focused on fixing the banking system in Lebanon, fixing the port, repairing the airport, getting their economic infrastructure in place. They said over and over again, we're not looking for assistance coming to us, we're looking for investors to be able to be here. That we want to be open for business. and to have people from all over the world to be able to come here to be able to do business. So we're going to get our systems right and get rid of corruption. They also said something that was a pretty remarkable statement. They said they want to have a monopoly on military weapons. Now, that may not seem like a big deal to us as Americans, but there have been two militaries in Lebanon for decades, Hezbollah's military and the Lebanese armed forces. In the places where Hezbollah's military stands, the Lebanese armed forces don't go. Until now. With Israel's bombardment of Hezbollah in the south, what is south of the Litani River, the Lebanese armed forces have moved in that area, and now the Lebanese army is actually defending Lebanon. Not some terrorist organization trying to be able to defend southern Lebanon. The Lebanese armed forces are actually stepping up to be able to do that. They're taking the lead in those areas and setting up the posts. The government there is very focused on getting weapons out of the Palestinian refugee camps that are there in Lebanon and defanging Hezbollah in the south and Hezbollah in the Bekaa Valley bordering with Syria. They're serious about taking on drug interdictions along their border with Syria. They're serious about trying to be able to balance things out. I have to give kudos to Morgan Ortegas. She's done a phenomenal job there, and her name came up over and over again in my meetings with the Lebanese leaders as they saw her as a straight shooter and a good negotiator between Israel and Lebanon to be able to establish a lasting border and a lasting peace in relationships. Their American leadership in what they call the mechanism there as well. That mechanism is helping monitor the ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon, and they become a trusted partner to both sides of that border. We as the United States do make a difference when we engage in different parts of the world. Lebanon and Israel would not be experiencing the peace that they're experiencing right now if it was not for American engagement. No other country in the world walks in and has the reputation that the United States of America does, so it allows us to be able to step in and help provide stability by just our presence and our engagement to be able to be there. It's not large numbers of Americans that are there, but it is to America's benefit to see peace between Lebanon and Israel. Not just because of two countries far away in the Middle East, but in Israel, there are 700,000 Americans in Israel right now. Right now. And if we want to be able to stand with those Americans that are right now in Israel, we don't want to see Hezbollah rockets coming at our citizens from the north. We also have hundreds of thousands of Lebanese Americans and their families and Americans living in Lebanon. We should continue to be able to have our relationships and our engagement there to be able to provide a stable, lasting peace. And there is a shot for that, like there has not been for decades between Lebanon and Israel. When we left out from Lebanon, we went to be able to meet the king in Amman, Jordan. He's a trusted partner of the United States, and he's passionate about bringing a peaceful relationship with the entire region. He is somebody who actively wants to see stable relationships in a stable region, and he's doing the work that it takes. Hard work in that region on things like water. It's not a simple thing for everywhere in the world like it is in most places in the United States, but when you're in Jordan, that's a tough challenge. But the ability to be able to bring nations together, to be able to provide that kind of engagement with the country of Jordan and our friendship with the king there matters. We left out from Amman and I drove into Jerusalem. Israel's facing very real risks. This body knows it well, and we've had plenty of conversations about it for a very long time. The United States stands with our ally Israel. It was interesting for me to be able to see Israeli press there that has a whisper going out among Israeli press that the United States is walking away from Israel. That is far from the truth. The United States continues to stand with our ally and friend Israel. But Israel is facing a multi-front war. And what they're dealing with day after day after day, we as Americans would never put up with. We are now about 612 days past October the 7th of last year. There are still hostages being held in Gaza today. Today, there are still hostages. There are still challenges being faced every single day. The day that I arrived in Israel happened to be the first day that a new strategy for getting humanitarian aid into Gaza started that day. It was a chaotic day of a brand new plan of how do we not have huge bags of flour and food be delivered, and then Hamas scoop those up, and then Hamas tries to be able to portion it out as they choose, and instead to deliver boxes of food to a family where it would have a week's worth of food there to a group of people who have no chance to be able to get to a grocery store, no chance to be able to get options for food. And so they experimented with a brand new way to be able to do that, which was, by the way, an American-Israeli partnership to be able to deliver that food into Gaza. That first chaotic day, tens of thousands of boxes of food were delivered to Gazans who are desperate in that. That led to the second day a little better, the next day a little better, the next day a little better, as each day they try to figure out how to maintain security, how to maintain order, how to register people, and to be able to make sure as many people as possible are getting as much food as possible, and to be able to get that out to people who desperately need the help. Each day that humanitarian aid is getting better and better and better as they are learning how to be able to do it more effectively now. That's important to us because we care about all human life. We're Americans. We have people that we disagree with strongly, but we still care about the dignity of human life. So we're watching that aid actually go into the country, and I'm proud that we as the United States, as private citizens in the United States, are a part of delivering that aid that is desperately needed there. But I would tell you, my conversation in Israel with key leadership there, including with the Prime Minister, always circles around the threat of Iran. Always. Because the rockets that are coming in from Gaza were paid for by Iran. The rockets and missiles, unmanned drones that were coming in from southern Lebanon were paid for by Iran. The missiles and rockets that are coming in from Yemen against Israel are paid for by Iran. As they face all the challenges all around, I could go on and on and on. As they face all the challenges that are around them, we cannot forget the Iranian people live under the thumb of an oppressive Iranian regime that is not just oppressive to their own people, they're the destabilizing force in the entire region. And the one thing that is clear in this is we've got to make sure we strengthen our sanctions against the Iranian regime so that they cannot have more money to do more acts of terrorism, and they can never, ever, ever have a nuclear weapon. That means no enrichment. That means no centrifuges. That means no opportunity to be able to create a nuclear weapon. Iran has used their centrifuge technology to be able to enrich uranium up to 60%. There is zero purpose for highly enriched uranium other than a weapon. They cannot at one moment say they're not trying to weaponize, and at the next moment brag about how much they've enriched uranium. Those two don't go together. So we as Americans have to be vigilant. Because if you look at the flag of the Houthis in Yemen, the flag of the Houthis in Yemen has 5 phrases on it. Let me give you 2 of them. Death to the Jews, death to the Americans. That's not a banner they have randomly hung up. That's their national flag. They're serious about it. And I think we shouldn't just say, no, they're kidding. They're not. So we cannot allow the Iranians to continue to be able to arm the rest of the area and to be able to bring the fight to us and pretend that's never going to happen. We've learned the lesson of 2001. People that are far away will do what they can in their deep hatred to come to us. So we should make sure that the Iranian regime never gets a nuclear weapon and that we remain clear and concise on that. There's a lot of things that we can continue to be able to talk about as we talk about multiple regions around the world. But as we focus on so many areas around the world, we cannot lose focus on the Middle East. The opportunities and the promise that's there, but also the threats that still remain. So let's stay vigilant. With that, I yield the floor.